Hi everybody. So we're going to look at ChatGPT. I presume for the most part everyone has heard of ChatGPT. I feel like it's been everywhere in the last year or two. Um, and it's been touted as a generative AI program that can essentially do everything. Um, we'll talk about its limitations later on, and there are certainly some ethics to discuss, and which I will discuss in another video. But for now, let's have a look at what it can actually do. So it can create decent lesson plans and more. It can solve problems and explain concepts and guide students through assignments. And it can create quiz questions, flashcards, or practice problems. Our students are going to use generative AI. That's without a shadow of a doubt. For our generation, we essentially use Google to find information or to our questions or answers and so forth. But our students will actually go towards generative AI for these tasks and more. And there's a lot of people who frown upon the use of generative AI, and with good reason. But just to put this into a little bit of context, we actually were no different. If you think about it, we moved to Google, and pretty much everyone now, when we're either researching or finding out information, we essentially go to Google. No one really has an encyclopedia at home as much anymore. We're not going to those bits of books for information as much as we did in the past. So it's just something to put into a little bit of perspective, I suppose. Um, we were no different, and our students, we can hardly blame them really when this software is very exciting, it's very capable. There are certainly problems and limitations and ethics, and we'll discuss those at a later date. But for now, let's have a look at it. So, how to use ChatGPT correctly? So, it's all to do with the mindset. You need to treat ChatGPT like a personal assistant. You need to be specific, and it works best with tailored content. And you need to provide detailed, clear prompts, including tone and style. Now, this is very different because in the past we would have just gone onto Google and we would have typed in a science lesson plan on, I don't know, it could be the cell or something along those lines. Or if it was in engineering, it could be in terms of alloys and so forth. And then what we would have to do then is we'd scroll through a bunch of different web pages to find relevant information. But ChatGPT doesn't work like that. It can, but you won't get detailed answers that you're looking for unless you're specific and unless you provide tone and style. So everything's got to do with the term prompts. And again, it's a mindset issue. And I'm no different. So, what makes a good prompt? Before I go through this, I'd like to thank Craig. He was fantastic there for providing this as a CPT that he provided to the staff on generative AI. So he came up with what a prompt should actually look like when we're making lesson plans, for example. So if we read it here, design lesson plan for 40-minute lesson for 14-year-olds. So straight away we're saying lesson plan 40-minute lesson 14-year-olds, and it's for junior cycle geography in Ireland. And then we're going into more detail here. So we're saying the lesson requires a starter activity, 3 separate developments. This is their first introduction to the water cycle. And then below here you got the use of, you want higher order questions, and there is a high number of EL learners in the class, so differentiations could be important. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can do it bit by bit, or you can do it all at one go. In the past, it used to be better, ChatGPT, doing it bit by bit, sentence by sentence, or two or three sentences together, and then another two or three sentences together. But now it's quite good, to be honest, if you just put it in all in as a one piece of text. So this is a really good prompt here. There are multiple prompts online, example prompts online, that you just need to edit keywords in it. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to copy and paste this prompt, and I'm going to go onto ChatGPT. Now, this is ChatGPT, and again, it's free, but we must take into a few considerations. So before we start, let's have a look. You can see on the left hand side, I've been using ChatGPT for different explanations and so forth. So it has a collection of all my past searches as such. On the right hand side, or it says RY, standing for Ryan, you can actually customize your ChatGPT. And I would encourage everybody to go along this line because it just provides a little bit more context to the program. So, for instance, I said, I live in Ireland, I am a science teacher. But you can do more. You can say what your hobbies and interests are. You can talk about, like, again, I said science, but is it biology, chemistry, or physics, or all three? And then talk about the goals you have. How would you like ChatGPT to respond? Again, it could be very Americanized sometimes, so I said respond with UK English. And I said chats should be formal and informative. Again, you could provide more information here. And the more information you provide, the greater level of detail you're going to get in terms of the detail that you're looking for. Now, before we look at the actual main part of ChatGPT, we've looked at on the left hand side here the past ChatGPT conversations that you might have. You can delete these if you'd like, or you can revisit them. On the right hand side here, we talked about modifying ChatGPT, but we also have to look at the paid version and free version comparisons. So on the bottom left over here, I'm just going to click on that and you can see there are plans here. Now, I don't think any of us are going to pay the €200 a month. Don't think that's necessary. But if we look at the free version compared to the plus version, one is €20 a month and one is obviously free. Now, I'm using the free version just to show you what it's like, but the paid version does have some significant benefits. So, for argument's sake here, one of the things there you might have noticed is that you're able to upload documents. And you'll find that you have limited access to file uploads here, which could be problematic. Whereas the plus, you have extended limits on file uploads. There is still there are still some limits applying here. You can select and you can go into a bit of detail and so forth. But for the most part, with the average person, it'll be okay. That you won't exceed it, essentially. So that's what they look like. I should note that if you have Apple uses ChatGPT into its systems, and you can actually use all of the plus version of it here for free, essentially. Now, there are some caveats there, but for the most part, it's all there. And remember, any of the apps that I've been talking about, or the programs I've been talking about, whether it's Google Notebook LM or whether it's MatGPT and so forth, all of these can be used on students' phones and so forth. So they have really, really good access to all of these generative AI programs. So let's have a look. I'm going to copy and paste the prompt here. I just do Control V there, and again, let's see what we get. You'll see it's immediate. You've got the lesson plan to the water cycle. You've got duration, age category over here, learning objectives. And again, you've got your start activity. It doesn't do everything for you. This is the important thing to remember, that ChatGPT and other generative AI programs can do a lot. It can help you, it can help support you, but it will not do everything for you. You will need to think of introductions, you will need to use images, as you can see over here, and so forth into your teaching. So it's not going to replace teachers at all, but it can definitely give you a starting point. And for argument's sake, if there's a specific question on this that you wanted to ask, you can ask it here and display a model answer and so forth. So you got your higher order questions, differentiation, peer assessment, next development, your last development, I believe, your last development. It actually even gives you the timing as well, the recap and so forth, differentiation and assessment. Okay, so let's just say we wanted a little bit more detail on assessment. Provide some assessment questions on above. So you can see here, it'll provide, again, because we talked about differentiation up above, it'll divide questions into lower order thinking, mid-level thinking, higher order questions, prompts, and so forth. And again, if I wanted the answers to all of these, you just simply type it. Provide the answers to above. So it's very, very good. And it could do, like, this is only a small piece of what it can do. If you wanted to upload a document, you can get it to upload a document. And then you can ask it to read that document and to summarize it, or images included, by the way. You can do a whole pile more, and I'm going to have a look at that in a separate video. But you can see here, you've got your feedback, you've got your questions, you've got so much information here. For those of you teaching a different language, you can say translate above to Irish. And it'll provide anything that you want translated into Irish. Now, it actually does it really, really well. And I've had people verify this. I'm not a native Irish speaker myself, but I have got plenty of people to verify this, and the level of Irish is appropriate too. Very, very accurate. The people who got to look at it couldn't find any issues, maybe one or two grammatical issues, but overall they were very satisfied with the Irish. And I've also done it for other languages too. So again, very, very good. In the past, again, it's about the mindset part of things. In the past, we would have used Google Translate, but of course, Google Translate was good, but it certainly wasn't accurate. So we definitely have some trust issues when it comes to translation. But generative AI is much, much better. They're not the same at all. So let's just go back to our presentation. So just a few things here. You could upload a document and ask it to proofread an essay. I'm going to have a look at this in the next video. You can ask a student to look for practice quizzes and assessments on it to assess themselves. And again, it can provide a starting point and provide immediate feedback. So the starting point for the creation part, for the teachers, some ideas and so forth. You may not agree with what they provide, and you can say suggest another idea in terms of the lesson plan, and it will provide another idea for you. And in terms of immediate feedback, again, you can upload information onto it. And again, separate video, but it will correct it for you. And again, we'll talk about the ethics and so forth in a separate video. But ChatGPT is very good. The important thing, I suppose, as educators, just we need to be conscious there of changing that mindset in terms of the prompts, and treating ChatGPT as a personal assistant. And we also need to be aware that it's on our mobile phones. It's everywhere essentially. So our students will be using it, so we need to teach them how to use ChatGPT and other generative AI programs responsibly and also correctly.